All right, well, here we are. This is the fourth episode of the Panoramblin podcast. Of
Finally,
course,
number 4.
You all remember my good friend Zach, and this is the first time my other good friend Josh Glawson
Josh D. Glawson,
is meeting my other good
Yeah,
friend. So,
hey, thank you for having me.
It's great to meet you.
yeah, so I thought it would be a really good opportunity for us all to talk and bullshit and this? Oh, and this is Toby.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hi, Toby. Hey,
Toby
Toby.
Kenobi.
Pleasure.
I think he's been on 2 of the
Pleasure.
podcasts so far,
Yeah.
but not all of them.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
good
what we
to-
were...
what
Oh,
was
go ahead.
that? You're interrupting me? All right. Well, good to have you guys here and have an opportunity for us to really deep dive on whatever ridiculous things we've been, filling our brains with lately.
Was that kind of
Way
a
too many
pun
things.
or whatever, like deep dive, and you're on a boat?
Yeah, it could be. It's a boat pun. Yeah, we've been. I should say, Josh has been bringing all the puns for the last
Sorry.
No.
It's
Good.
been boats and puns.
Yes.
The last hour.
I love it.
And so that's kind of what you were asking about, though, is the boat thing, like a desalinization.
Yeah,
sort
I thought
of mini
it
thing.
might be interesting if there are. I don't know. I've not looked it up. We could do like Joe, whatever, and
Joe Rogan, look it up. I'll be the guy that's looking it up. You guys talk. Go ahead.
Yeah.
If
Wasn't
every
it Jamie, young Jamie?
Yeah. If every boat could have something like that, then if you did have that, then you could potentially be just getting the water out for your sink use, for your toilet use, for your bathing use, or,
Sure.
those kind of things. And it's just straight from the ocean. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, ideally,
Amazing.
I know that it.
Or the water, whatever.
I know that it can cost a lot, and that's why we don't do it more regularly, like from just our own ocean, I guess, or supply.
Yeah.
But I was looking at, thanks to this guy, he introduced me to the idea of an atmospheric water generator.
Oh,
way back in the day.
Oh wow!
You got a little.
For
What is that?
$238
Yeah.
roughly $238.
So
But
this
it's solar.
is-
It's using
it uses
like
the
heat.
sun and you have water in the center, and then it evaporates, and
it's
condenses on the sides.
Exactly.
Is that what you were talking about?
No, I think you were talking about powered.
like in Israel, things like that I've read about.
Exactly, Israel does it.
Yeah, I have heard that the amount of clean water that comes from the amount of energy spent on it isn't worth it.
Yeah,
so it's
for
not
most
really
places.
efficient. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. And the U.S. has considered that, and I really don't like the fluoride thing in the water. Not to be conspiracy theorist, but I
agree,
it's
though.
weird. It's weird to give us medication. If we don't
Yeah.
want it.
The justification for it is like, oh well, it
Yeah.
helps with dental expenses
and
and
your
like,
bones.
it's up to the individual to brush their own damn teeth.
Yeah.
And the way that I always looked at the whole fluoride thing is, okay, so you're trying to protect people from getting cavities. Well, why don't we try and protect people from skin cancer, and we'll put
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen
in your shower.
Yeah, exactly. In your shower. So every time you shower, there's going to be some sunscreen in there. They'd be like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, well, same concept with putting fluoride in the water.
Yeah,
Plus,
exactly.
it's not like fluoride is this heat-seeking chemical that goes, you drink it, you metabolize it, and it's like, where's the teeth? I'm going to go and find the teeth and deposit there.
Yeah.
It's going to go everywhere in your body. So you're like, to claim that, it's totally fine, no problem. Here's a chemical. We'll just have everybody.
It may have positive benefits. I mean, I don't know that it doesn't, but I just think it's just not right to forcefully give me any type of medication. I don't want that medication.
The research I've seen
I agree.
is that it's it's not good. It's cumulative in your body, and it causes a lot of issues. What issues I don't know, but I've never actually heard of positive side effects from it.
Sure. Well, it's like the minimum that I've read is that it doesn't do anything if you drink it.
Yeah.
But if you brush it on your teeth, it actually does do something.
Yeah.
But if you drink it, nothing.
Oh.
And the worst case I've heard of that has some legitimacy is that it can bind to your thyroid in place of iodine.
Oh.
Same thing with bromine, which is like another major chemical that we all get exposed to. But they're all in the same column on the periodic table. They're all halogens, so iodine, fluorine, chlorine, bromine. And so the only one that you really want is iodine. and all the rest block it.
I
So
have no idea about that.
Yeah.
I'm not good at those. But that's good. Hey, at least we have this guy.
yeah. Well, I take a lot of iodine, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, why?
For that reason, like you're just exposed to all these things, like you
It's
said, like in
because
the
he's so
in the
close
tap
to the
water.
ocean and Fukushima, and so he's just playing it safe.
I eat a lot of fish.
yeah. Nice.
No, because like the RDAs for anything are really like off. They're based on like one very small demographic
What is
of
the
like recommended daily amount or recommended daily allowance or something like that. So vitamin A all the way to iron has an RDA of how much they say you're supposed to get.
And apparently the iodine of the RDA for iodine is extremely low compared to what, like, even was it in other cultures? It's
Japan gets like 10 milligrams a day of iodine, and the RDA is 150 micrograms. So
what are they getting it from? Fish? Or?
Fish and seaweed and kelp and all that. So
yeah, that's why a lot of the iodine you see, if you go to Mother's and look through their supplement section, is iodine with kelp, because apparently the combination of the two makes it more like bioavailable or something.
Yeah, I think it's a more natural sort of.
Did you guys hear about the new era in Japan yesterday?
New era?
So yeah, it's called a new era. So the emperor retired, and his grandson is now taking over. And when in Japan, their culture, they consider that like a new year or a new era, a new period is beginning. They call it the new era, and it's began in Japan. So and I've been hearing a lot of nationalism has been growing within Japan these days. So my concern is. With my constant fear of World War III building, the U.S. is. I don't know why we want to intervene everywhere and cause it. Anyway, we're not the only ones. So I'm worried. What is going to happen now with this new era, with this new emperor and Japanese nationalism on the rise?
It is a really good question. Like, it's really funny though. Like, I literally just heard about this today, hours ago.
Oh, nice.
And I love it when that happens, when someone else brings it up. Like, it just comes back around. And she's actually from Japan.
Oh,
and she lived there until she was like 26. Yumiko, Nima's girl. But she was saying that he was very loved, like this guy. But it's his son taking over, and so. I could see that going one of two ways. It's either good or bad. Either he loves his dad and emulates him, or he hates his dad and rebels.
Sure, but the thing is, and I think as we as Americans sometimes forget, is when we hear other people say, "Oh, that leader is good. That leader is good." I mean, we say that in our country as well. A lot of people will say, "Oh, that leader is good," and then
very polarized.
and then you as an individual. Separate from them might think, well, that's not true. I don't agree with that person. So, yeah, I would like to look into it, maybe find out about this guy.
Absolutely, yeah, because, they are, a major world power.
Yeah.
So, it's good to keep an eye on it, for sure.
Yeah.
I know, you're so worried about those guys.
I think if anything, China's probably more of a concern than Japan.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
by far.
They've been building their clone army for...
They don't have a new era.
forever, so it's like they can't have those soldiers go to waste.
That's true.
Well, China's also pushing what we call the Silk Road project, and it's going across all the way into past Eurasia, all over to Eastern Europe. It might even go into Europe. So it's taking the old Silk Road routes, and they're building transit systems and roads, a high-speed rail of some sort, I believe, from all parts of China throughout Eurasia and Asia. Yeah. So it's supposed to be helping with their trade. It's also helping with their push in the South China Sea and other things. They're expanding a lot.
And I also hear that they are. I always sort of scoff when I hear it put this way, but they're colonizing Africa now. Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, so they're putting a lot of investment into certain aspects of maybe development or just outright buying whole swaths of African land and economies. And so there's a lot of investment going into that continent from China. And some people, as I say, they're like, oh, they're the new colonizers. I'm like, it could be good, it could be bad. It remains to be seen. They could actually be what helps to develop Africa. Yeah. Or they could totally screw them all over.
Sure.
They could just import their communism over there.
Screwed over there.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Everybody's coming in that area.
Yeah.
Ravaged it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know, but at least if they have interest in developing that area, then they should it should be generally positive.
Yeah.
Would be my thought.
Yeah.
Rather than just sending, like the U.S. does, sending billions of dollars to Africa for foreign aid, and then messing with their economy because now, there's no incentive for them to develop their agriculture because all this food, all this corn and wheat and shit is coming from outside of the country, and they can't compete with that. So it's like, at least if they're on the ground there developing the economy, should be beneficial. Although you look how that went with South Africa, and I don't know if how well it's going to turn out.
Seriously,
I would not want to live in South Africa.
Oh no, me either. The droughts and also the problems that they're having.
Well, yeah,
the farms and the constitutions and killing
and
farmers.
The leaders basically saying, race wars, it's coming, get ready.
Yeah, and he had permitted the forcefully taking of farmland if the farmers were white. They're allowing the murder of them.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be, there's going to be a massive famine there in the next few years. It's going to be
Well, and the droughts have been crazy. Horrible. People have to line up to go to government facilities to get water there as well. So there's a lot of mismanagement going on. I was going to ask you, though, the other day you were talking about your friend who works with some African organizations and everything.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if you ever going to talk about them and did you ever talk to them or anything?
I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet, but no, that's fine. I mean,
no.
I mean, I think
that's why we wanted you on, bring some fresh ideas to it and everything.
All right.
But I mean, just kind of for the viewers, long story short, I have a friend, my Sayaka, my girlfriend's actually hanging out with her right now.
Oh, nice, cool. Yeah.
And she has a nonprofit that helps to. If I remember correctly, they teach like agriculture and hydroponics to villages in Africa. And I was thinking that it would be really cool to figure out a way to connect the Dash community.
Yeah.
And even maybe Cardano, because, well, as you've seen in some of our previous podcasts, we really like blockchain technology, so we've talked about that
a little
before. But so both Dash and Cardano are working on creating a monetary option for people in Africa to be able to be their own banks and not have their money have to go through some super corrupt governments and all the problems that have hindered Africa from being developed.
Yeah.
So I think like Dash has this thing called the Dash DAO, where you can propose an idea that would be a good use case for building the adoption for Dash, and the decentralized governing organization of people will vote on whether they like the idea, and if it gets enough votes, they'll donate or grant the project a lot of money. So I was like, this is a great idea. Connect the two, help to get this financial tool in their hands, and also help to get this agricultural tool in their hands. Win-win for everybody. So something that we'll be exploring.
Very cool. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so hopefully we'll talk to her and get that done. Yeah, awesome.
Yep. So I just realized, I was thinking about it, we kind of just started diving into things.
We tend to do that.
But exactly, it's in our nature, But I do want to learn more about you, because I did just meet you a couple hours ago, and I definitely like the energy so far. And thanks to you, we have a nice mic here, so you can probably hear us a lot.
Audio quality is way better this time.
Yeah.
We'll see, hopefully.
Oh, I'm sure. Considering we've been recording our audio on that.
So you're going to be recording with us all the time now, right?
Yeah.
I'm just using you for your
There's a rental.
Once we start making money off of this,
that's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, what would you like to know about me? What would you like to know?
Well, let's see. Like, what do you do? What are your interests? Hobbies?
Well, I am a libertarian writer and speaker, and I enjoy reading and playing chess and dance. And so I also practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And,
nice.
Those are my main hobbies.
Very cool.
Yeah. And that's lately the biggest thing I worked on recently was about startup societies. I was help copy editing for an organization. I think it's startup societies. .org, I believe it is. I can get that information for you. But anyway, it was also talking about blockchain technology, and you guys brought up blockchain a moment ago, and so I know that your show is all about rambling, so this is the perfect segue. Is that what I was reading in there when I was editing was a program in the country of Estonia, actually. It's called e-Estonia is the program. It's a blockchain system that the entire government of Estonia has set up. Now,
Interesting.
Estonia is a small country. I believe it's less than 2 million population, so that's not even a fraction of Orange County.
Sure. Believe it or not, I've actually been there.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. And it's also...
It was just because of a cruise ship destination kind of thing. Like,
really?
There's a bunch of other stops that we made, but... Estonia was one of them. Sorry, I didn't mean to...
No, there's the last thing I was going to say on it. It was is Estonia also was recently listed as one of the worst countries in the world. So,
no way.
Government-wise, yeah. So, but I do think it's interesting that this new program called e-Estonia, which is a blockchain technology, helps streamline all of their government functions to a public ledger that everybody can access and go on public transit, etc., through and vote through, apply for jobs, government jobs through, etc. Is still a bad country. I don't know. It's just it seems crazy to me, or what we call bad, or how they measured it. I'm not sure.
But being able to do that and be able to just have the ability to interchange services and goods and everything like that, like just very easily.
It seems to me that in that equation,
amazing.
The government is actually superfluous. It's like, well, once you get the blockchain system in place, that's the idea. It's decentralized, so you don't need the centralized authority.
That's true.
People are just using the system that helps us all interact more efficiently.
Exactly.
And it keeps everything in line. It keeps everything in check.
Yeah.
I mean,
you wouldn't even need to raise taxes for roads because you're on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And every mile you drive on the road, you're doing micropayments for using that road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can solve so many problems.
Yeah, you can make it so that it's as mindless as taxes are now. That's the other thing I think that people are most concerned about is when you see payments constantly, when you're looking at it, then that creates a heightened sense of awareness. And we notice this throughout all the areas that we have economic booms and busts. So let's look at medical field, for instance. You're not looking at the bills. You know what I mean? So you have all this hyperinflation. The education system. It's not that I returned to my school in my 30s actually. When you apply for school, the numbers just seem to shift constantly as you're in there, and when you're applying for loans or if you're going through financial aid, etc. So there's fluctuations, and you're not looking at that bill all the time. Mm-hmm. It sort of hits you at the end. Yeah. Then you realize, I have this much debt.
Exactly.
And these are people that are like 18 to in their early 20s.
Just fucking their lives over.
And they live with their parents. They've lived with their parents, or they've not really lived on their own. They don't have the experience for it. And, so they're not looking at it. And we can see this. What other fields? I mean, would you...
definitely the medical field. I've seen that,
We're not looking at the bill, so we get a hyperinflation. And government, so taxes, etc. If people saw the amounts constantly, if people literally saw how much all the time that everything's coming out, started counting the pennies, then it would cause more awareness. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of the problem of having direct deposit in a way, because then it creates this sort of extra blindness to your own money.
Sure. Yeah, there's no tangibility to it anymore.
Do you think that having this blockchain solution to paying for road service, do you think it would fall more in the camp of that it would be a blind payout, or do you think it would be where people are saying like, oh, I actually just spent $25 last month in driving fees?
The problem is you can't sell the idea to people and say now you have to look at it. You know what I mean? You can't say, hey, right now you're carefree. Mm-hmm. Because that's how people feel. They're actually losing a lot of money. Nobody really wants to look at it. They get direct deposit. They don't even look at the check stubs. They just assume that everything's correct. Mm-hmm. They turn a blind eye to it, and then just sort of happy. They expect things to be good in their life, and they think that they're going to be successful with that type of mindset as well. blows my mind.
Nobody knows how to balance a checkbook anymore either.
So if you're going to sell the idea of carefree society, that hey, now you got to look at your money, you got to manage your money, then everybody's like, whoa there,
totally.
buddy, this is crazy.
It's too stressful, man.
Are you
too
serious
stressful
right now? Like, how are we going to pay for that road out there? You know, I have to have 1 million people to pay for that road. So that they have these type of ideas. So you have to sell the blind idea to them with the option of still managing money for people that do want to manage their money. You know what I mean? So you have to create a seamlessness.
It's
transition,
giving them what they already expect, as opposed to saying, no, now you just have to take this responsibility.
Yeah, you can't give people
like, I don't want responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to cut that off. So I think that's where we need to be more cognizant of our pitch to the idea of blockchain.
Interesting.
It can be seamless. It can be seamless.
Yeah.
We can make it seamless.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the idea of adoption, is like people will opt into taking more responsibility because there's other advantages of doing so.
Yep.
And eventually the optimal system will win out. So hopefully, blockchain creating such a hyper efficient way of managing our lives will become the dominant way of doing things.
Yeah, and if it's not swapped out overnight, then it's going to have a transitional phase, and we'll be able to adapt to it and learn what's wrong and what's right, and move forward in a healthy way, hopefully.
An interesting bit of news I heard was earlier this week, Jaguar Land Rover partnered with IOTA, which is a blockchain
I got some IOTA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's a blockchain company that specializes in Internet of Things, IoT.
Oh, yeah.
And so
it's
now...
a really interesting way that it functions, too, though, where every node checks the other, the node as it passes through. I can't remember exactly.
It's a cool technology. I think it's going to do really well. Yeah. But they just... Jaguar Land Rover just announced a partnership...
Sorry, that was so rude. I'm so sorry.
They should let me start.
I can't believe it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, okay.
Cool, dude.
That's what I'm known for when I'm hanging out with people. On my phone.
Actually, I do want to do a little IG moment, but continue.
All right. So,
hopefully I can turn this thing down in a second.
Oh, are we recording?
Oh, nice.
All right. So, as I was saying, do you want to? All right, I'm thrown off now. What's going on?
It was we were talking about IOTA. We were talking about the merger, or the Land Rover Jaguar IOTA.
So you're not going to post that, are you?
Yeah.
You got to do a better one. I was caught off guard.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
All right. So you got to do. Okay. We'll come back to the IOTA conversation. Let me. You got to announce it. You'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
All right, here I'll do my talk show.
There we go.
It's a talk show within a talk show.
It's
talk show inception.
Yeah.
It's a taco inception. Wait, not a taco inception.
Is that like scissoring or something? All right, yeah. All right. IG! Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on a boat, and these are your hoes, ladies and gentlemen. So, here we are. We're on a podcast with the 360 camera, and we got this mic, and we got
Toby.
Toby.
Say hi, Toby.
Yeah, this is the Panoramblin podcast. Check it out.
Yeah, what is the channel? How do you find it?
So you can find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
It is the channel is called. I can't talk. The channel is Curd. Arcanum OK.
Arcanum OK.
How do you spell that?
Arcanum.
And then,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that. Also on Launchpad Media.
Whoa,
right?
what does that mean, you guys? Was that racist?
It means whatever you want it to mean.
No, it's not. That's so stupid. All right.
Yeah, it is stupid.
All right.
Yeah, we're hoping to start those kind of conversations though with that as our logo.
That is our logo.
It really is.
No, not that stupid.
But
I'm just saying, like,
it means so many. Well, it's stupid
that.
But the thing is like that's what a symbol is. It is transmutable. And it means so many things. It means okay. It means that game.
Asshole or whatever it is.
Yeah, asshole. That's right.
Yeah. And from what I understand,
how big was it?
The white power thing actually was came from 4chan, and and I think
They're just
don't
trolls.
quote me on this. They did it to troll the left.
Exactly.
So to see like, oh, let's see if they run with this. And totally now it's like when Trump speaks, he's like,
he's signaling them.
Make fun of Trump,
he's an easy target for sure.
Super easy. But all right, let's bring it back.
All right.
To what we were talking about before, because I think it's interesting.
Refocus.
China.
So, IOTA.
Oh yeah.
IOTA partnering with Land Rover, Jaguar, or Jaguar Land Rover, one of those two.
Is it pronounced Jaguar?
It's Jaguar.
Jaguar.
If you ever watch the BBC, it's
what?
Get the new Jaguar. Anyway, and so what it does is allows you to submit information about road conditions and various things to Jaguar, and you get paid in IOTA. So it's basically kind of like with Waze, you can say, oh, there was a car on the side of the road, or there was a pothole
construction
or something in the road. So you're incentivized for reporting road conditions, and it may collect other data.
Well, what kind of incentive?
You get paid in IOTA. IOTA is the...
But only if it's confirmed that it is indeed a problem, hopefully, not just blindly.
I don't know how they confirm it, but I think it's just meant to incentivize.
You know what I mean? I could just be like, oh, there's a problem.
It may be that multiple drivers, like in Waze, I think you can see how many people have reported the same thing.
Well, that's the thing is the IOTA works because it's actually talking between the machines basically, and so if this one initiates this and this one checks, and so maybe there would be that kind of confirmation aspect to it, and I don't know if it would involve human participation or if it would be more like an AI thing, because obviously we're moving closer and closer to self-driving cars and being able to recognize those kind of things.
And construction, I think, is going to be one of the first easy places to have AI
recognize it. It's got the distinctive colors and all that. But imagine you hit a pothole and it just automatically knows because of the way the wheel moved.
Exactly. So it'd be easy to repair. Exactly. With lasers, they have lasers.
Laser technology.
Throwback. Laser.
I just watched that the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to. I had to go back.
It's a good one.
It was really good.
Oh yeah. Your podcast.
Classic.
Guys, I'm gonna let you guys transition.
Oh no, I don't want to transition to that. Not necessarily.
Yeah. But I think that was just the point I wanted to make was, it's a good first step in adopting this technology. It's practical, and they're rolling it out a little bit at a time. One company's doing it. And I think eventually it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
The weird thing about IOTA though, and being paid in IOTA, is that it's not the same, how do I say it? They are like millions of bits of a coin sort of thing. When I remember when I bought.
Are you saying because the value is so low, like the Satoshi value?
It's not the value. It's they're literally divided more.
Doesn't IOTA mean something like that?
Exactly.
You don't give one IOTA. I don't give an IOTA.
They're nano coins.
I never put that together. I always thought it was IoT and then the A for.
Yeah, it was never really built to be a currency. It was built to be a way to prove something based on communication between internet, Internet of Things.
Most cryptos weren't really intended to be a currency.
Yeah,
they're just more of a utility.
Yeah.
Well, if people ever want to do anything in LA, I know there's a website called oneiota.com. That's a number 1 and then IOTA, and that's for people who want to go see MTV Music Awards and those recordings or movies that just come out and they need people in the audience to sit there. And it's free. There's no charge. You just have to put your information on there, and they'll send you emails almost every day.
So it's astroturfing? It's an astroturfing website?
What is that? Where you're just sitting outside and standing outside, and they
when they bus in people to make it seem like a bigger deal.
It is. Yeah, it totally is. It totally is. And they want to see the audience's reactions, oh, that movie was so great. I really felt it.
Yeah, it's funny. My daughter and her mother went to go
Lego
see
Batman.
Went to go see what's it called? America's Got Talent performed live.
Yeah.
And they said that the actual amount of time that they spent recording it, the show was about an hour.
Yeah.
And the amount of time that they spent recording the audience, telling them, "All right, everybody clap, yay!"
Yeah.
Woo!
Gotta get that
All
B-roll.
stuff was like 4-5 hours.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
over it, yeah.
Like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
then
like
they
something
went
you
back and did it again. I was like, why would you do that?
I was just about to say it sounds like something you only do once.
No,
and then
they
you just said that. Like,
they got
what the
tickets
hell?
for 2 of them, and
unless
they're
you wanna be
like,
seen.
I guess we're gonna go.
If you want to be seen, I mean, you're in that world.
In the first
that'd be a good
one,
to
they
be.
were
They
in
always
really
do that.
bad
They're like,
seats.
he was in the back seat. He was on the...
That's true.
The second time
they even made a
went,
movie with Ed Helms about that.
Well,
I think so. Like, Ed Helms?
yeah, I recognize the name.
He's from The Office. He was Andy.
Yeah.
But,
sorry, I feel like I just cut him off.
I did,
happens.
actually. It was me.
Oh, okay.
It's all okay.
I apologize.
Yeah, so just going back to that, like, they made a movie about a guy who was, always in these types of events, and he just had that recognizable face, and, like, it's, I don't think it's true or anything like that, but it was a really interesting movie. And I'm sure there's people who do that.
On that, where he was, like, doing the game shows, like Jeopardy, and he could guess all the numbers. That was a good movie as well. It was based on a true story. He knew all the prices of everything. And
Whoa.
Wouldn't that be Price is Right then?
Oh, yeah, Price.
No, Price is Right. Yeah, The Price is Right. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. How is he gonna be the best
He
show?
was on Jeopardy and he guessed every price.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they're always the same on the board, right? Oh, man, that's funny.
Hey, isn't Alec Trebek have cancer or something?
Yeah,
bad
he
recently?
recently announced that he has some
I didn't
terminal,
hear about that.
Yeah, terminal.
Yeah, it's like lymphatic cancer
Oh,
or something
geez.
like.
Right when I want to say your mother trip. Never mind. Take that
Optics
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What was the one about? Oh man, he has a lot of good ones on that Saturday Night Live one.
That was one of the better SNL sketches.
Yeah, all those. Yeah, it's good.
Would you mind handing me my water real quick? Sorry.
This one or that one.
That orange one, thank you. But yeah, so.
Yeah.
Did you still want to?
Oh, I can finish what I was going to say in like one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So the second time when they went back, they sat right behind the judges. So I'm sure they got lots of airtime.
Wow.
Oh,
that was
yeah,
two
that's true.
sentences. That was good now.
Did you ever like did they get a recording of it or anything?
I don't know if it's actually gone or been broadcast yet. So.
Oh, okay. A lot of times they'll give you like a recording.
I look
if
at my
you're in
daughter
it.
all the time, so it's like, oh, she's on a screen. It's like, I don't know.
Really?
Oh,
They
that's
went?
so
Your
cool.
daughter went? Yeah. That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's still fun.
Mm.
I mean, I got that Honda commercial that Audrey was in. I like to
that's
show
right,
that.
yeah.
Did I ever show that to you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was like they did this thing at Chalk Hospital, and so they had this Christmas card that would animate in AR on a tablet, and it was just people wishing them happy Christmas and saying like you're strong enough to make it through it and everything like that. And they really pulled on the heartstrings with it, like. But my daughter just happened to be in the hospital during that time, and so they asked her. Yeah, I mean she's still going through things, but yeah, she's okay.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So this is going to be really embarrassing for all of us, but I think it's something that we all have in common. Mm-hmm. And we all have specific voices that we can do.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're full of voices.
Do a bunch of voices.
No.
So I thought maybe we each like kind of pull out at least one of our voices that we.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is.
I knew you were going to be embarrassed.
Yeah, because it's been a long time since I've done my Mickey Mouse.
You gotta whip it out first. You want to see ours.
That's true. That's true. I know which one you're gonna do is Kermit.
I was thinking maybe Yoda.
Yoda, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one, though.
Well, funny enough, a lot of my my voices tend to be from the same voice actor.
Yeah,
he did Kermit and Yoda, same actor.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin the Martian, same actor.
Oh yeah, I can do that one.
Could you do Jordan Peterson too?
Yeah, my friend Made by Jimbo does a really good Jordan Peterson.
Does he really?
Yeah, super good.
Yeah, he has a great feed on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does. Made by Jim Bob.
Yeah. So. I don't know which one's it gonna be.
Right.
You guys,
you gotta rip it out. You just gotta.
Yeah, you started it. So.
Well, it's not easy being green and trying to come up with something to say. The Green New Deal.
Oh no!
That AOC, she sure is batshit crazy. That's my Kermit. It's a little rusty. I haven't said anything other than it's not easy being green for a while, so.
Toby, do your best alarm. Do your best alarm. Yeah!
He's a good boy.
All right.
Yeah!
See, I totally didn't even think he had as...
He does have an impression. He's got his siren.
Yeah. Don't. Mad respect. Mad respect.
Lick the palm. Palm lick. Or palm lick. No.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm so sorry.
All right, so who goes next?
It's your show.
All right.
All right, I'll go.
Go for it. But I don't want to have all the pressure of going last too.
I'll do my typical one that he's going. Say, this sure is nice salad that you got here. Real nice. My Sean Paper Boy, bring me some good news.
That's the old pervert from Family Guy, right? Yeah. Get your fat ass back here. I love that. Oh man, that was good. All right, so that's one of the ones that I forgot I could do a little bit. I can't do the whistles on the S at all. But let's see. There was also like Elmo, but I don't want to do Elmo.
I don't know if I've ever heard your Elmo before.
I used to do this line. It was from. I think it was from Family Guy as well. I can't remember what it was. It was Elmo popping in, but I think I can do Mickey Mouse is usually what my go-to is. I don't know. Give me something to say though. Like,
what is something he'd say?
Well, hello there, children. Nice to meet you. We're gonna have a great day, and I don't know.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And now that Disney owns Star Wars.
That's true. We're both in trouble. At least we're gonna get sued by the same place.
I heard that the last Star Wars was
sue us. They will.
Nice.
Shit show it will.
That's funny.
But only one lawsuit. Oh man. Yeah.
I don't know. I normally do like just different country voices, different characters that I make up and things like that. So like I'll record them and put them on my phone, and that's just.
It's fun though.
We're gonna be the new Jerky Boys. We should call people and
That's funny.
We should prank call AOC.
Yeah. Dude, have you ever started speaking in an accent for so long that you get kind of stuck in it?
Yeah. And characters too. Actually, there was one time that I was hanging out with them. I want to tell you what we were doing before. But
that's the story I want to hear.
That's actually not preface that correctly. That is not. Anyway, so we were drinking outside, and there was a character I got stuck in for like a good 10 minutes, and he's just like staring at me, and Sayaka, his girlfriend, just staring at me. And I'm literally stuck in this character.
He just kept going. I was like, at first it was entertaining. I was like, this is an interesting, like, what's going on here? And then it's like, I don't understand.
There was some THC involved and some drinking involved, so that's why. Sure. But then there was pho. We walked to pho. I actually don't know.
That's
how
probably
we
where
made it to pho,
the linchpin was the pho.
That's
set you over the edge.
That's the trifecta. That shit'll fuck you up.
That's
it'll fuck you up. You got fud up.
There is a place actually in California called the Pho King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that restaurant. It's in Huntington Beach or something?
I thought it was a little bit.
I
maybe.
think there's one in like Semi Valley or something.
No, I thought I saw one years ago in Huntington Beach.
I thought I saw Mission Viejo, but
Mission V8.
Viejo.
Pho.
Viejo Pho.
No, that's too much of a stretch. Never mind. Ignore that. We can edit it.
Nah, this is all staying in.
Oh, okay. So let's go.
It's basically like someday we'd like to do it live. That would be the way.
We're going live.
Once we get the studio set up here, the floating studio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Toby thinks I'm crazy. I was just doing that impression of that dude. What's his name? The Fox. No, I'm saying like the Fox News guy. He's like, "I'm going live," and he's like cussing at the people in the background. He's like, "Not."
It's been a long time since I watched Fox.
I don't watch Fox. It's just they always put it on like meme videos on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've been on Instagram. Like, I'm not an IG guy at all.
Yeah, I'm just starting to get.
Not because it's like I'm better or anything.
I'm too cool for that.
Hey, I'm pretty proud when I say that I deleted Facebook a few years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, that's something that I would really like to do. I have so many people that are constantly trying to communicate with me on Facebook. I'm like, text or call.
You do love calls, yeah.
Like, oh my god, Facebook should not be our main form of communication.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I refused to do it like for a while because you can't message on the Facebook app. You have to download Messenger, which is a separate thing. Yeah. And so I just don't even have either on my phone. Like,
and they monitor a lot of other things you do on your phone with those apps.
Exactly. I literally log into Facebook through my browser on my phone if I ever feel like checking it, which is like once a month.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to have to get one, though. I'm also starting a podcast. That was the reason why I got the microphone.
That's a good thing to talk about, actually.
Yeah.
And this is something I've been thinking about because I really dislike Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you can have a viable media company or be a media person and not use Facebook.
Yeah, I've also read that it's better to have your significant other handle your social media because you're gonna if you get bigger, you're gonna feel bad when people say bad things about you, negative things about you, or you should get one of your friends to do it, perhaps.
So a line of separation.
Well, that was what I was actually thinking is that. If we do want to do a Facebook page, which we technically have one for Invisible Hand, maybe having somebody else manage it. Because I really could care less to go and post shit on there.
Same here. We should just make a point to boycott Facebook.
Couldn't care less.
But that was another thought. It's like, we could just say, screw it, we're not doing it.
Yeah. But I think it's better to engage with your audience and have multiple platforms, and just because it's not your form of communication doesn't mean it's not the market's form of communication. And I think that's something that we can all agree on.
What we'll do is once we get big enough, then we'll boycott it.
Yeah. Like Peterson and all the others boycotting
Patreon.
Rightfully so.
But they've not given an alternative yet.
They were talking about it like a couple months ago.
They've worked on it. But I don't know why you would. So why would they have canceled right then? Just then to say they're starting their own thing. And when did they cancel it? Was it right before tax season or something?
No, it was back in February. I want to say.
Listen, pal.
I want to say it was back in February, at least when they announced it. Because I was following along that for a little while.
They switched to Subscribestar in the meantime, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they did.
I don't know. I couldn't find any.
The last time, like that same video though, when they announced that they had been officially taken off of Patreon and then they were going to start their own thing, it sounded like they were going to have it up in a month.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, but
they did make it sound like it was right around the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe they ran into some problems.
Snags.
I actually text
Mark Rubin.
Dave Rubin.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because I've met him before and he's on my phone.
Wow.
He's on my phone. And so I text him to say, hey, I'd love to help out with that project any way I can. I never heard back. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is busy.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, like, I can't even imagine getting a certain level of celebrity on YouTube, especially if it's, like, exclusively YouTube, and that's where your main audience is. That's where your voice goes out to millions of people or whatever, and it's like you owe them something now. Like, and that you have to keep going with it, and that scares me. That scares the crap out of me.
So you're saying we should stop the podcast?
Not at all, because this isn't going to be our exclusive. This isn't going to be our exclusive thing.
Yeah.
This is just what we're doing for fun. I mean, like.
Yeah, that's true.
And just to.
It could be like Joe Rogan. He was just doing it for fun too, and then all of a sudden he blew up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have definitely diversified the things that we are working on, and so all we need is just a couple of those to take off.
Yeah.
And
I think it's also interesting about Joe Rogan is that he is a leader in the fields that he has first started with, that he's first started with his podcast, and so just thinking about that constantly, like
MMA and comedy and
MMA and comedy. Yeah, I mean, like he's legit a martial artist. If you ever his spin kicks, everybody knows about his roundhouse. And the way he articulates the sport itself is just phenomenal. And and he's I'm not a fan of his comedy, but there are a lot of people that are fans of comedy.
I think he's hilarious. He's actually one of my favorite comedians.
Oh, really?
I thought he was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I actually got to see him and get a selfie with him after the show.
Do you
and
guys
stuff
also
like
like Dane Cook and?
I don't. Dane Cook kind of annoys me.
I feel like they're like on the same par.
I don't think that they're
really.
I don't think they're even
Interesting.
remotely similar.
I think Joe Rogan's just too aggressive for my liking.
Oh, he definitely is.
Yeah, he's very in your
But you know
face.
what I love about Joe Rogan though is he's one of the few comics who can completely bash social justice ideas, and he's not lynched for it.
Yeah.
Like he actually is one of the few people that can break through and talk about these things.
Yeah.
I honestly think that he is the epitome
respect
of the jester, and that role of presenting controversial and very hard to wrap your head around ideas in a way that can actually be relatable, and you don't actually get upset for it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
I mean, obviously, there's some people who are going to get upset at anything.
Yeah,
so,
of course, yeah.
There's always some outrage going on. But.
Don't get me wrong, I still like him, and he said things that I thought were hilarious. I'm just saying he's just not mine.
Yeah,
That's
okay. Who's your favorite comedian?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's too tough right now, dude. That's way too tough. I can't answer that right now.
You can't answer it?
I can't answer that right now.
You're gonna offend some people?
I
can't believe you didn't...
Josh
knows he should say it's me.
Okay, because here's the thing. I like to go to comedy shows like once a week, and so by myself, I'll just go.
You still go to Anchor Bar?
Anchor Bar is a great place. They've not had any comedy shows there in a while because they've been doing it at this place called Chapter 1 in Santa Ana. Now,
how is that place for it? It doesn't strike me as
terrible.
It's
good
awful. Venue.
Yeah, there's a back room. It's so sketchy. You walk in and you think there's like nobody in the bar. It's in Santa Ana of all places, so you gotta find parking in the street. You go in there, and it's a back room, like there's a mafia dealing going on or something like that. And then Evan Cassidy, he's one of the coolest dudes. He's the host of the show, of the Fuck Yeah Nation. That's the name. Yeah, Fuck
cool.
Yeah, dude. That's his character. He has this character, FOCKYA Nation. And check him out on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else. Anyway, Evan Cassidy opens the door, and he's like right there, and you gotta be quiet. And there's a comedian down at the end of this like claustrophobic seating. Like think about the smaller area than this. You're all together with strangers. You have no idea who you are. Barely any table. And there's a comedian up there who gets 4 minutes or 3 minutes.
If they're lucky.
Of comedy, and he has about 100 people just like coming all night from 6:30 or something like that until midnight.
Jesus.
And so like you're not even hearing. All top quality.
Of course.
Comics,
mostly people practicing their craft.
It's practice, and there's a lot of people that do the same bit every week, and you're just like, you didn't learn. That's weird. So you didn't get laughs last time.
Yeah, you're supposed to kind of tweak it each time and figure out what works and what doesn't.
Don't just sell out for yourself and just do the same laughable ones either. Don't just do like the good ones. This is the time for your practice.
Experiment.
So you're there, and in this room, it's awkward comedy, awkward spacing, awkward room. Also, the pricing of this place is like extremely high compared to Anchor Bar. Anchor Bar was a dive bar, so it's a cool place to go get $5 pizzas and drink beer. I was totally saying like a commercial right now. Anyway, apparently the reason why whenever this something's going on in Costa Mesa right now, some guy complained about wasn't accessible for the hearing impaired for their comedy show, and so like the facility said, well, we can't have any performers here until we get like some type of like licensing or some type of thing taken care of.
Oh, wonderful!
So
Ruin for everybody.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Evan's been there for like 6 or 7 years. The comedians that have been going there for all these years.
I can't imagine
one person complaining. Yeah, one person.
They're gonna have a sign language translator up on stage next to the guy.
Yeah.
And the point that you were making about where it is in Santa Ana, the parking is horrendous.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to have 100 comics come through and cycle through when you're like, where's the comic? Oh yeah, he's been circling the block for 3 hours.
Yeah, and the drinks are expensive.
And none of them are carpooling.
Yeah.
Did you ever get up on stage and do anything?
I have done comedy in the past, but I'm more into improv.
I think I've been trying to talk you into it. Yeah. Meanwhile, you've been trying to talk Sayaka into it.
Sayaka, your girlfriend, is phenomenal. She has like this type of 1920s flapper girl like comedy.
For sure.
And she gets in this little flow, and it's hilarious. But it's only when she's not meaning to do it.
Yeah, and she's comfortable.
And she has her own little voices, but they're not like. impersonations.
Yeah.
She personifies things. So if it's like a little salt shaker, then she's gonna make the perfect size voice for that little salt shaker.
She has this like great. Her punchlines literally are there was comedians back in the 80s who used to like sip straws. They're like like this, and like when they're with their drinks when they're selling the punchline. Sayaka's his girlfriend's is always like, but it's always the greatest punchline ever. And it's like it's total dad jokes, but it's good.
But we're derailing from
Sorry.
I want to hear you do some stand-up comedy one day.
You said you like to do improv.
Improv is where it's at. Yes, yeah, but real improv, not like the improv of Brea or whatever. But like just you give me something to talk about, and we'll just talk about it. Give me a voice, and I'll have the voice. Tell me the age of the person, I'll act the age, whatever. Whatever.
So you don't think you could come up with a bit, like something that you're just ready to go with?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure I could. It just takes time. You got to figure it out, and that takes a lot of guts. Those people that get on stage up there for comedy is, I have done that in the past. I've tried it.
It's okay.
I didn't do it long at all. I didn't try long. I didn't push it. I had other things going on in my life.
Sure.
But I will say, it takes a lot of courage for those people to get out there.
Oh yeah.
Even when they're bad, even when they're quote unquote bad comics, like I still give them credit for getting up there.
Oh yeah.
They're doing way more than everybody else. They're actually trying and pursuing their dreams, and and they're making them goals.
It's a grind too.
Yeah. And it feels so nice to see people progress. Like, so I had been going there for months and months, just like listening to these people. I'll even have like my back turned to them, right? And I'm just eating my pizza and like drinking my beer and just hanging out, right? I don't even talk to anyone, but I'm listening to every detail of what these comics are saying.
Sure.
And some weeks I have been surprised where I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was really funny. And I turn around and it's the one person who's like, you can hear them progressing.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have children. I'm sure you guys know.
Like
see
progression?
Yeah,
oh yeah, for sure.
See people grow in front of you.
Oh, I keep telling my daughter she's going to be a stand-up comedian.
She absolutely will be.
Really?
She is hilarious. She's got great timing, and she knows like the perfect thing to say to make people laugh.
Yeah, and she's really experimenting. Like she's really reaching for new words and like trying to use them in sentences and everything like that. And I tell her like, that didn't work. Sorry. Try again.
That's what you should
be
doing.
Exactly.
Not like, like, oh, that was really funny, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, no, if it's not good, like my daughter gets upset because she loves drawing. She's a great artist.
Yeah, she is.
But, if she shows me something and like, it's off, I'll be like, oh, well, like it's not the best thing you've done.
Because you're an artist also.
Yeah. And she'll be like, like, not. If you want to get better, I need to be able to tell you, like, here's where you can improve.
That's right.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
You only get better at things you feel kind of bad about.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You could give up, I guess. Too, right?
But you got to do what's passionate. What you're passionate about.
Right. Yeah, you got to pursue what you're passionate about. Yeah, for sure. What you're passionate about and what you're good at. Actually, I went to a conference. It was an Ayn Rand convention, believe it or not, a couple of years ago. Out in Atlanta. Yeah, and I like Atlanta. It's fun to visit. There's a southerner. So. Visiting out there for that, and that was actually what made me transition into wanting to go to pursue law school.
Okay.
Because they had a speaker go out there. I don't even remember who the speaker was, but the information was just valuable to me. Where they said, write out a list of things that you enjoy doing. It can be anything and everything that you enjoy doing. Then beside that, write out a list of everything that you're good at. Doesn't matter what it is, just write out that list. Whatever comes to mind. Boom, boom, boom. Then create a hierarchy out of all those. You can have. Two of them are number one, or three of them are for number one, or whatever.
Sure.
And you create a scale, and you also create that scale on the opposite side. Then you start creating threads between them, and you start to find the type of skills and the type of environments that you would be best in, and that you would feel the best in. And law, teaching, and writing were all.
That's great.
My things, yeah.
Well, I could definitely see a person who would make a good lawyer making a list like that.
Yeah, you would hope a good lawyer would make a list like that.
As a designer, I would have gone for a Venn diagram.
Yeah, that's good, dude. This is awesome. We can make this a business venture.
Yeah, I kind of just went with what found me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like every step of the way.
So you wanted to be in dentistry, right?
Oh God. I wanted to learn what I learned there, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I always had a little bit more.
You're that elf from that Christmas movie. What is it?
Elf?
There's another
Like,
elf
Will
movie.
Ferrell?
The claymation.
Motion?
Yeah, the stop motion
Okay.
one. He wanted to be an elf.
Well, no, the elf wanted to be a dentist. I thought.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Relating back to the dentist.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm just glad I knew what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But no, before I had like lots of little like nervous frustrations about like interacting with people in my job. I wanted to do my thing. I wanted to work on my project and just kind of like get through my task list and stuff. Even if it was being creative, like it just kind of put the blinders on and focus.
Yeah.
And then when I went and started working with a family business and taking that over with teaching dentistry. So my father started it back in the 90s. Wow. And my daughter's mother and I took it over a few years ago, and then I went full-time back in like 2015, I think, after we were working together. And I learned how to interact with people from all over the world, different cultures.
Beforehand?
But I learned how to cook vegetarian for 12 people at a time.
Whoa, that's big.
Do some accounting work, make all the phone calls in the world. I mean, like I did
like
what I had to, but I just didn't like it.
And then I learned there pretty much.
Exactly, different projects, like revamping our camera system and everything, and making sure all that stuff was working. Wore a lot of hats, so I learned a lot of skills, and I'm really glad that I bumped into it. And I had to learn a little dentistry along the way, unfortunately. But
I feel like I can't smile in front of people who do dentistry.
Really? You got a great smile, man. You got good teeth.
You just some people
get a little self-conscious, yeah.
You just go,
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. It's like psychologists, around psychologists, you just don't want to talk anymore. You're like,
Yeah.
And then they're like, you must be thinking about your mother.
That was good. That was good.
So you do Freud apparently too.
That was Freud? No, I don't even know what he sounded like.
I don't think anybody. Well, I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some German.
Yeah, he was German, right?
Austrian. But same difference, right? As far as how you sound.
I don't think they want to hear that. Maybe we should.
Well,
Canadians, Americans, whatever.
I mean, that's kind of not true.
I mean, if you live right at the borders, both, they wouldn't probably.
Well, I mean,
they speak the same.
Their cultures are very, very similar.
Yeah.
It's just like even in Germany, you have different dialects between the north and the south, or I guess it's the east and the west. I forget. Yeah. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different dialects.
Yeah.
I'm sure you sounded more Austrian though.
Yeah.
Than German.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The papers. Remember like when Tool came out with that album and they had that German song about baking the devil's cake or something like that, and I always would listen to that over and over.
Yeah.
It was on that Anima album. I used to listen to that all the time.
Yeah, Tool's amazing.
Tool, Korn.
This looks like it should be,
that should,
Tool.
Yeah, that is so cool. Where did you
art.
get that? I totally want to get something like that. So fun.
My good friend Nima got that for me. I don't know if you've ever met him.
No.
They used to live together, but I guess you haven't known Josh for that long.
A couple years, 3 years.
Okay.
2 years. Well, I ran into you before.
We kept crossing paths at different events and libertarian stuff.
Oh, very cool.
And then,
but then weirdly, even here, we crossed paths at that same pho restaurant that we went to.
I was on a date with Sayaka, and you were on a friend date. And,
I think it was with my roommates, actually. It was all my roommates. It was like all 4 of them. All 3 of us. Or all 4 of us.
But
that's
it was meant to be. The stars aligned.
When you return to school, you have to have roommates. I returned to school when I was 30, so I'm 34 now. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah, UCI.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So, no.
No? I mean, not for...
Not cool.
Not for the cost.
I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah, no.
It could be worse.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You could go to Berkeley.
Yeah, but that's a good school. It's prestigious.
Yeah, and you're going to encounter 10 times the commies there.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah.
UCI is... probably, from what I understand and from all the people that I know that have gone there, and I've known a lot of people that's where they went to school, is it's actually pretty balanced compared to a lot of other universities.
It just depends on the department you're in, and I think maybe the department I'm in.
Well, you go like political science.
Political science, you're
putting yourself right in the.
And I have like social science professors and political science professors and stuff, and it's weird because they'll try to teach economics, and the things they teach are completely they're complete economic fallacies. Such as the other day, you wanted to show us some socialist type of video in our gang. International gang class that I'm taking.
International gang class? That's like
yeah.
You're paying money for that.
Yeah, so it's teaching exactly. I know. So like they're teaching us about like gang culture and the different levels of gangs and like how they're rated and what to look for.
Do they teach you about the hand gestures and stuff like that at all?
Yeah.
Because maybe you can help us. We're trying to figure out a hand gesture for.
We want to start our own gang.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the clasped hand society. So is it like.
The clasped hands?
Yeah, so like holding hands, like
like that meme, there's a meme like that.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a meme
like two hands. Yeah, because if it's left leaning meme, then I don't.
No, it's anybody. It's anybody.
Okay.
They don't meme. They do.
They do it too seriously. That's for sure.
But anyway, sorry.
No, it's cool. No.
Gang culture.
Yeah, gang culture. So you search socialist video, and they of course in the socialist video they talk about income distribution within the country, and then what they'll do is when they do that, and they use the same fallacies that Thomas Piketty is, who one of the main economists that Bernie Sanders likes to quote from, is that they'll use the mean of the country's income to determine like, this is what the averages are, and they'll break it into categories from that. But that's not how you do income. You're supposed to do it with median, not mean. And the reason is because when you have low lows and high highs, then that skews all the numbers in between. Where a median will tell you, and especially if you have different brackets, you have different sections that you're going to be counting the medians in, then that'll actually give you more of an accurate statement, right? So that's just my first thing. Secondly, is that they present this professor and other professors in these departments who try to present an economics when it's not their field and it's easily proven false, is they show capitalism as a zero-sums game. Meaning that it's either win or lose. And so what their idea is, because there's this 1%, with all these trillions of dollars or billions of dollars, I guess it's billions, not trillions, then they've taken that money from the people down here, and they use the ideas of rentier, which is that's a French term for people who have property and they rent it out, or they use slave wage labor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of things that I don't think that department has the know-how to be teaching. You know what I mean?
Well, they should focus on what the subject is.
And
unless they're equating socialist government to a gang, then actually it makes a lot of sense.
Sure. Yeah. So it's just strange when I see things like this in these classes, and I hear these things that are easily refutable, and you can easily just say Google it.
How often do you find yourself
Young Turks would
holding your tongue?
Oh yeah.
And how often do you find yourself actually like raising your voice?
Sure,
like,
I'll speak
what
up.
Would the ratio be?
Experiencing aneurysms and.
Oh yeah, no, I'll speak up, and I'll try to do it as best as possible and nice as possible. But a lot of students, because they are apathetic, or they're ignorant in the field, or they just assume that the professor's right because the professor has the position or the degree to talk about it. Right, it's the appeal to authority that they have. I do get some people that gossip about me or will make mocking noises or look at me or whatever, but won't dare debate me on the issue either because it's embarrassing. Or if I tell them, well, fine, you can just go look up my published work on the topic or go read it yourself, where I provide annotations and I provide citations and footnotes and everything else, or even the scholarly work that I've edited. You can go read that work, and we can talk more about it. But they don't dare do that. The apathy that is, and this is a problem of the education bubble, is it is filled with apathetic people who are apathetic about their education, apathetic about engagement in the world, and especially when it comes to debating in the world, and apathetic about the cost of education itself. Because if they really cared, then they would start complaining about the fact that our school makes us take classes that are meaningless.
Yeah, they have no value.
Meaningless. Yeah. Now, let me give you an example of some meaningless classes for just...
Please.
So we have this idea. There is a computer course that we have to take at our school. The only reason why they have this computer course is so that they have higher standards at my school. So they say higher standards means it's a harder school to get into. What is this computer course? This is Intro to Computers. This is, what is Microsoft Word? What is the internet?
What is
PowerPoint?
Oh
What is
my
PowerPoint?
God.
No. I'm being.
But this is a
serious.
university, not a high school?
That's correct. It's a university.
You mean not a middle
in the
school?
United States.
Yeah.
In the United States. Now, if you took AP history in the United States, right? At my school, in the humanities department. This is when I transferred. I transferred as a philosophy major from community college. Was that even if you took AP history in the United States, it did not matter because it didn't count in that school. It didn't count. If you just had to go to high school in the United States and your history counted, your history class counted. So a lot of students were frustrated. I heard them in there. They're like, well, why did I take AP history?
Yeah.
They're like, well, sorry. Yeah. And like, so back to the other classes that are really frustrating though, and that make us waste money, is they also make us take mandatory intro classes. Now these intro classes can be taught any way that the professor deems fit. It sounds kind of fair, and you kind of think, okay, maybe a professor can have some leeway. Here's the issue. The issue is multiple classes that are mandatory will at the same time coincidentally be teaching the exact same things with the exact same books.
Really?
Yes, and then they'll say, well, maybe you're getting a different perspective. Well, I don't know how much a different perspective is worth to me, really, that I'm sitting in this room and I have to, and it's a mandatory, and it's a mandatory class that I'm taking, and I'm not learning anything. So I've taken, I would say, in the political science department, let's negate the philosophy department because I've taken the same books, same lessons from those in the philosophy department as well.
Sure.
That's what also makes it frustrating, is here are the authors: Rousseau, Hobbes, Marx, Locke. Those, and you might get Tocqueville. You might get de Tocqueville in some other classes, but it's mostly those four of Rousseau, Locke, Marx.
And they just throw Locke in there so that you can get a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Mill, and they'll also put Mill. Mill is another one. It's in several classes, and they'll be teaching this at the exact same time in classes that are mandatory and that you have to pay for. You have to take no matter what, and you can't test out of it. You can't say, hey, I'm published on this work, which I have published. I have actually gotten some of these things published on these particular authors, on these particular philosophers.
Yeah.
And the school doesn't care. And I've put in my complaints with the school, but nothing is done. So apathy and the things and the problems that we're seeing right now with the education. So when I speak up, people are usually more like laughing or looking down or questioning. Some students will come and engage with me after class, and those are great conversations.
Sure.
People that don't believe what I believe will engage with me, But unfortunately, I think apathy is running amok.
Because it's just expected that you go to a college or university now instead of actually earning it and working for it.
Well, you're not a customer anymore. Yeah. You're just a commodity, or you're just like, you're going to be coming through anyway because you want to get a job at some point, even though, nowadays having a college degree doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a job. Mm. And funny enough, sorry to point it on you, but political science, if you have a political science degree, it's one of the lowest employment rates of any degrees you can get. Yeah, but anyway,
I wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a business anymore. It's not that you're the customer, so you want to go there specifically to learn the things that you need to go out into the world and be a valuable contributor. No, they're just going to be like, how can we pad this as much as possible and indoctrinate at the same time? Might as well.
Oh, they do. They do indoctrinate.
Got to make sure everybody loves the state.
Yep.
And it's a captive audience. It's like going to Disneyland. And you're like, man, I'm really hungry. And you go to get a hot dog. And you're like, $18 for a hot dog. Yeah. You're like, but it is a foot long. Like, I don't give a shit.
You had to enjoy it at Disneyland. Yeah. I think that's where the apathy comes from. Is like it's expected of them. Like you actually made the decision to go back and
so I'm going to be a different. I'm the outlier.
Exactly. Like you have a passion for it. This time at least.
But I hope that I really hope that I'm inspiring other people to be more outspoken and to start questioning things that they hear.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind. That you are.
I think more people need to just speak up. Like it's something that I don't do very often. Like in public situations where somebody says something really, like, demonstrably incorrect.
Yeah.
And, for a long time I'd be like, I'm just going to let that slide. But now I'm like, no, I need to say something because, not necessarily just for them, but for others to see, like,
sure.
A, you can't just pull shit out of your ass.
Yeah.
And B, it's actually okay to have challenging conversations.
Well, technically, you can pull shit out of your ass.
More often you're pushing, but pulling can happen in extreme circumstances.
Depends on what you ate.
Yeah, it depends. One time somebody asked me if I wear boxers or briefs. I told them depends.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's what we're all about.
The end of my statement. But yeah, no, I think that we need to be able to like challenge each other a little bit more, and I think to tie it all full circle, that's part of that same apathy that exists in college. Is this just like, I'm just gonna sit back and like let the stuff be downloaded into my brain, and I'm gonna forget most of it anyway. But it's just what I've got to do.
Paid a lot of money to learn this, so I gotta take it all in.
It's just getting the grades is all it really becomes, and the system will say oh we have these books in place and these students are tested on those books or whatever. Well, I can also tell you this: you can take most classes in university today without actually reading the material, and that's because the professor just talks about it. They just talk about it, and they expect that the students aren't going to be reading or engaging or be very good readers, and they're just giving you all the facts. So it's not that many students are really doing a lot of outside reading or really doing a lot of the reading that they're told to do in classes.
Sure.
When they're told now that you just have an essay class, which I'm fine with. I love essay classes, and then some people aren't good at essays, and so that's going to be a difficult thing for them to do. Is if it's an essay class and you already know that, and it's an out of class assignment, then you could just Google everything or look up whatever and just create a story. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So then this incentivizes a system that's just for the grade itself. Just pass and go. Just pass and go.
Get that degree.
It's not an incentive to learn and engage and question and to actually care.
Yeah.
So the system itself needs a lot of tweaking.
Yeah, most definitely.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking to you.
No. I mean, actually,
that's why we brought you here, man.
Valuable perspectives, considering we both went to art school.
Oh yeah.
We didn't go to.
We went to vocational kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which are all closed down now.
Yeah. We were just thinking of it, like not all of them, but
most of them, I think.
Most of the art institutes are no more.
Yeah, I just discovered that the other day when I was over at your place.
I think the Santa Ana one that we went to is still there, though.
I don't know. It said Orange County.
Really?
Yeah, it said that was one of the ones that's permanently closed.
Wow.
Yeah. So our school is closed down.
So does that mean my diploma doesn't work anymore?
No.
Probably.
I don't.
Probably. It's not on the blockchain, is it?
Your field is just you want to have a good portfolio.
No, and that's actually something that I feel strongly about as having hired people in the past. Him being one of them.
Without a degree.
I actually don't give a shit whether they have a degree.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll just zoom over that. What I want to see is if they have experience and how good is their portfolio.
Yeah.
To me, that is 100% of it.
Oh no, Bunny Sanders here. I think the 1% of the 5%.
I don't know.
That's why I was planning on having you sit there.
Tom, guys, Jimmy Neutron.
Oh God, man, I remember that show.
Yeah. That was my
pretty...
Bernie Sanders impression. I think that he sounds kind of like the lion from The Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's
definitely.
a little bit like that and Larry David mixed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he
definitely got some Larry David.
And he's always playing the organ in the air like this, but it always rises.
It makes him look so creepy.
Oh,
maybe he's got puppets down below that he's like, you're my puppets.
He's practicing for when he's president.
Exactly.
With my oldly had a brain. The 1%.
We're a fucking comb. That's good.
This might be our best episode. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think so.
So communist.
Are you gonna be a regular on our podcast?
Yeah, if you want me to.
I think you should be.
Yeah, I just need to eat more fiber and I'll be good.
You actually don't need fiber. This is a myth.
Oh, really? Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. What?
Oh man, we're already at like over an hour now.
I'm
We're
sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I think we can probably do it pretty quickly.
No, this is going to be like Alex Jones on Joe Rogan. This is going to be 5 hours.
Seriously.
Let's just keep going.
That was ridiculous. Oh no, I'm sure that no, you can't hear anything across there. But like one of the main things for fiber. Well, first of all, they've done studies with like diverticulitis and diverticulosis, like appendicitis, right? Your appendix starts like exploding basically. So diverticulitis is when a diverticulosis in your intestine, which is like a little bubble that's kind of come off.
Side bubble.
Yeah, like your tire when you hit something hard and there's that bubble coming off. That's on your intestine, and it's got a small little hole, but it's still kind of filling up and everything. Fiber can actually, they've seen this in studies, can exacerbate that. It can block it up or make it a little bit bigger, and then it can become a diverticulitis, and basically cause the same risks and issues and fatalities as appendicitis can.
Bleeding
exactly.
Yeah.
And so
and so that's talking specifically about one disease, let's say, but to the thought that we actually need fiber to be regular to poop.
You don't. I didn't know that.
Well, they've seen that another study is with constipation. Fiber actually made the constipation worse.
Yeah.
And then
Dr. Paul Saladino, I was just listening to something with him before. He was talking about how he has worked with people that have chronic constipation, and he cut out all fiber.
And it got better.
100% of them were able to poop regularly after that.
This is the weirdest butt stuff conversation.
The last thing,
Sorry, that's funny.
So, like, the last thing that people would say that fiber is good for would be like in your colon being broken down into butyrate, which is like a little bit of energy for those cells in your colon.
Yeah.
But if you're on a ketogenic diet, you make beta hydroxybutyrate all the time, all over the place. So you don't actually need it.
This is insane.
So you may want a little bit of fiber just for your gut health. A little bit on a non-ketogenic diet, but if you're in keto, then you're fine.
It's sort of like technically, if you're eating like a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet, you don't really need vitamin C.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why the sailors got scurvy, was because they were pretty much only eating grains for months.
Carbohydrates, because they had what was it, like hardtack or something like that, like the bread that they would call it back then, and they weren't really given much meat at all.
And they were drinking vinegar too. I read that when they ran out of wine or beer, they would rum, then they would drink that because they wouldn't drink water.
Yeah, because it would get like infected and exactly.
Oh,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, so your body naturally produces, if you eating meat, you're going to produce your own.
Well, if you're not eating a lot of carbs, is basically
kombucha, weed, and ketosis, my dude. Come it is California.
Kombucha is gonna put you out of ketosis.
Yeah,
if you drink too much. Well, if you drink too much at a time, like.
Well, I can get like 50 grams a day, dude.
Because I really love kombucha.
Yeah.
But you don't drink that much at a time, at least from what I've seen.
I usually drink half a bottle at a time, and then I specifically look for the ones that have the least amount of sugar and carbs in it.
I think it has 32 grams in GTs.
GTs are higher, I've been getting
especially the higher alcohol ones too.
But the one that I get only has 4 grams of sugar in it.
Per serving, though.
Yeah, per serving, and like 6 grams of carbs.
Which one is that one? The Health Aid?
It might be Health Aid.
Or whatever.
The flavor is the best one I've found.
It looks like Red Stripe
vanilla
bottles.
oak.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Vanilla oak.
I did have a sip of that. It was really good.
But
that sounds cool.
Yeah, so it's the carbs that are in it, right? That would take you out of ketosis.
God, dude, I'm even doing like keto water, dude. Put butter. Just put butter in my water, dude.
What's funny is I knew I was gonna get hungry, so I brought some snacks. But it's like a keto smorgasbord.
A keto, dude. I'm like totally into martial arts, dude. I do keto, dude.
Oh, look what I brought.
All right.
Keto? Oh, nice.
Cracklings.
Dude.
Maple bacon seasoning.
Do you want to try one of our
these are our homemade
fat bombs?
Whoa!
We're hopefully going to be bringing these to market pretty soon.
What is that?
We're experimenting with these.
It's mostly fat.
Well, what's in it?
It's
fat.
Oh, God. That
and
sounds
chocolate,
disgusting.
cocoa powder,
Yeah.
peanut butter powder.
Yeah.
We also use erythritol and glycine as a sweetener.
Mm-hmm. But the fats that are in it are just from cocoa butter and coconut manna.
We call them Grease's Pieces.
Is there peanut butter in it?
Yeah, peanut butter.
Are you allergic?
No. Let's do a half. Let's do a half.
All right.
Are you concerned right now?
I just think it's weird to be eating fat, my dudes. All
Really?
right.
What are you
I'm in
talking
ketosis, dude. No.
How many carbs do you eat in a day?
Right now, I'm keeping under 75.
Oh, dude, you're fine.
Really?
75 right now.
Yeah. Hey, you should be all right.
Yeah.
Eat a lot of vegetable oils.
I've lost a lot of weight. I've been working out a lot. I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting with jiu-jitsu.
Really?
And so causes a lot of frustration for me in jiu-jitsu. Though, let me tell you, if you're wanting to compete and get better at jiu-jitsu, you don't starve yourself and then do jiu-jitsu.
Well, that's why you need to have.
I don't know. A lot of people would
energy.
say different. You know, like once you're used to that, like fasting thing. Like I pretty much only work out fasted.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying like, but the thing is like, so like when you're doing like bursts, and you need that strength or whatever to overdo the other guy or to get out of something, right? You want to use as little strength as possible in jiu-jitsu, but that you're going to lift heavier when you eat, and then you're going to lift heavier.
I would agree with you, except for when you're in ketosis.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
this sounds like a religion, my dude.
It kind of is. It kind of has become
when
that.
you get that behind you, you're like, when you're in ketosis. Oh no, that's more like.
Have you read Ketogenesis yet? From the book of Ketogenesis.
Who is like
awesome.
The head doctor of keto diets?
Who is?
Nobody is.
There's quite a few YouTubers that are very popular. There's Dr. Eric Berg.
Do you know Dr. Eric Berg is your Lord and Savior?
yeah, pretty much.
That's all I was going with it. It's okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
All right, let me eat your fat
one.
bombs.
Yeah, have a whole one.
All right. Okay. Now, which shape should I go for? Is the mouth feel different?
The diamonds are like probably double the size.
Yeah.
So.
But diamonds are forever, so I'm going to go for the small. Diamonds are forever.
So one of the problems with fat bombs.
Is they're so delicious or what?
Well, that's another problem. But they tend to melt at room temperature.
Mm-hmm. So we've been engineering ours to be.
What's in this, dude? I'm like really creeped out.
We can't give away the whole recipe. We'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah. Well, what if I'm allergic to it?
Are you allergic to cocoa?
Is actually.
Am I allergic
this
to
is
what?
actually
cocoa.
Oh, it's
No.
not. I don't know if it's
Peanut butter?
vegan.
No.
Erythritol.
Huh?
Erythritol?
I've heard sugar alcohols are not good on ketosis, my dude.
No, depends on what they are, which ones, because each one's different.
Interesting.
One problem is.
Hold on. Tasting. Go ahead. I'm tasting stuff.
The problem with this batch is that we didn't put salt in them.
Yeah, they're better with salt.
Everything's better with salt.
Is it? Is salt better with salt?
Yes.
Actually, as a matter of fact.
You can taste more salt when you have salt in it.
I like to put sea salt on my Himalayan salt.
Oh, you do? Is that like a thing?
No.
Oh, okay. Could you make like moon rocks but with salt, like different versions of salt? Moon rocks, I mean, like never mind.
I don't know what a moon rock is. I mean,
Caustic.
colloquially.
It's marijuana stuff.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have heard of moon rocks.
It's
They
where
like-
you take the flour
And dip it in honey, right?
roll it in the resin.
Oh, and the resin.
Oh,
No,
yeah, I've seen
rosin.
that
Is it
before.
rosin?
No, it's resin.
Resin, yeah. Or like wax.
Rosin is for your bow when you play.
Oh, okay.
Something like
Okay,
that.
resin, and then they dip it in the keef, and then
Yeah.
and then
That
they smoke
sounds dangerous.
Yeah, they told me honey at one point, and so I think they
that. So
were
you
just
might be able to
wrong.
use honey too.
Do you have a cutting board?
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's down in that little basket. It's the white plastic cutting board. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm going to make myself.
It was
a
interesting. I do think salt would have been better, but it's good.
Yeah. I mean, normally we put salt in there, but
It's meant to
Didn't
be
make
like
it.
What are you doing?
Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm making a snack.
dude, why'd you bring these? You know I ate like 4 of these in a sitting the other day. I'm gonna
My
have one
dudes,
more.
we are so California right now.
I'm gonna have the
Late.
diamonds.
Go for it. Would you like a piece of summer sausage?
Mmm.
Would you
I
like
know
a piece
Toby
of
would.
summer sausage?
This is just funny. This is
I'll have
like,
one piece, thank you.
This is like
I don't want to
the
take your
greatest,
food.
the greatest hipster time I've ever had right now. Like,
You call me a hipster
Yeah.
one more time!
oh,
He's
jeez.
got a knife, man.
And it's got fat on it, which is doubly bad, I guess.
It'll go right in your veins.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It'll hurt you and give you a heart attack.
But I'll be in ketosis.
So you'll live.
So I'll live because ketosis has the healing powers necessary to create the bromine that's necessary for the methamphetamines of the riverside.
Is that why I have so
of
much
riverside?
energy?
Mhm.
Because I'm producing my own meth internally.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. That's
Through
right.
methylation.
Yeah.
Good reference back to
Yeah,
bromine, by the
yeah,
way. I like that.
I was just making it up. I don't know.
No, not for you.
You can't be in ketosis, my dog.
Yeah, definitely not for you.
I'm sure he probably is. I mean, he eats no carbohydrates, so I don't know if they.
I'm sure their food has to have some.
A little bit, but I get him some pretty decent stuff. Like he started getting fat with anything regular, and he hated it. He wasn't even eating it, and yet he was still getting fat.
What? That's crazy.
And I started giving him this.
Maybe allergic reaction too.
Could be, yeah. I started giving him raw food, like it's frozen. I just warm it up on the stove, and he loves it.
I've also been doing sort of a scientific take on food these days, but just playing with the intermittent fasting while exercising. And I go fasted. I exercise at fasted. Like we were saying, but yeah, I like the idea of eating more like ketogenic sort of friendly type foods, and sort of look at that as sort of part of my skeleton that I want to go for. But I do want to still be able to eat pizzas and still be able to go and have beer every now and then and something like that,
There are some things you miss after a while.
Yeah.
Well, actually, at first, after a while, it goes away.
I still have beer for every once in a while.
Yeah.
It just means I have a whole lot less of it.
Yeah.
But I can still have a beer, sometimes two.
Yeah.
That's
just
I don't like being drunk anyway.
To have one or two, but one or two is just not enough. And you don't even feel anything from it. I don't feel anything.
Yeah. See, for me, I actually don't like being too inebriated. Like a little bit of a buzz, I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But feeling drunk is not something I like anymore.
That takes a while. Yeah.
So,
well,
I mean.
What are these? I want to try these pork cracklings.
Oh, you want
They're
some
good.
cracklings?
I tell you
I'll try and do it over here so I don't do it right in the microphone. We're going to be crackling up a storm in here in a minute.
Barely any
Isn't
residue.
that good?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, in North Carolina, we have this fast food place for fried fish called Captain D's, and it's amazing. And they have these things called cracklings. And all it is just the fried batter, and they give you like a bowl of it. And you just eat fried batter.
Jesus.
And no, it ain't Jesus, but I tell you.
If they deep fried it in tallow, I'd be a little more on board with it.
What's tallow?
Cow fat.
Interesting. That's probably expensive though.
This is probably the point where everybody's going to tune out because they're like, all I hear is crunching now.
I got meat.
There we go.
I wonder if it's like working there too. I just didn't.
We could turn it back on and see. We might want to check. I mean, we're recording audio on there, but this is what we want for sure.
Yeah. That was chewy. That one.
Yeah.
One bite was chewy.
Yeah, they have a little piece of fat on them.
Oh.
So it's like a pork rind with extra fat.
Wow. Yeah.
I think they're delicious.
No.
It reminds me of.
He's not dropping it for you. That's not for you.
Pepperoni.
Great.
Do you like some pepperoni?
Just relax.
Oh, no, thank you. A lot of the Taiwanese food that I've had,
He's
had some of that.
He's like shaking.
He wants it so bad, or what?
Yeah.
He's scared.
Oh,
He really wants the
pepperoni.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you poor little boy.
I'm really being mean right now.
That was pretty funny. I like that.
You sound like a turkey.
Yeah.
Huh?
You sounded like a turkey.
Nothing but a jive turkey.
Like, sort of his face right now. He's like,
yeah.
He's going crazy for
Cocoa Puff.
Yeah, crazy for Cocoa Puff. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. Oh my gosh, where'd you get these? I might get some.
I got them at Ralph's actually. They've got them at Whole Foods.
They don't have them at Sprouts. I looked for them. Mother's probably not.
But there's 5 grams of.
Yes, but not that kind.
There's 30 grams of protein in this.
What's the serving size though?
That's what it is. That's one serving is.
The whole bag.
6 gram. There's 5 servings.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so the whole bag has
yeah, whole bag. That's good.
Yeah.
30.
That's kind of what I look at is like the price per grams of protein.
But 30 grams of fat and 10 of those grams, 10 of those 30 are from saturated fat. So
saturated fat's good though.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not that cholesterol is that high either. 5 times 15 milligrams.
Choice some pepperoni.
Or 5 times.
I don't want to take it from you.
You're getting 25% of your cholesterol in this. So I guess that'd be the only thing I'd worry really about, like eating a lot of animal product, is just like how much bad cholesterol. I know you guys are in the ketosis religion right now. You're gonna be like,
well,
no.
think about it this way.
The Lord,
this is pretty much the way that this is pretty much the way that humans ate for most of.
Yes, they've been eating like this for millions of years. We evolved.
Well, what's bad cholesterol?
I'm just kidding, dude.
Right?
I'm kidding.
Oh, I know.
Whatever you're gonna get, whenever there's HDL, there's
LDL.
There we go.
LDL, HDL.
There we go.
And total cholesterol and triglycerides.
There it is.
So the bad cholesterol is LDL, right? That's what everybody thinks.
If it clogs your artery, yeah.
LDL isn't even actually a cholesterol. It's a protein that carries cholesterol and triglycerides.
Oh, wow.
And it's really only a certain type of LDL that's really bad. And it seems to happen when you have a lot of inflammation.
Oh.
And now there is kind of like new science that they are looking at your ratio of triglycerides to HDL. If your triglycerides are high and your HDL is low, you're in a bad position. But if your HDL is nice and high and your triglycerides are low, then you're good. It doesn't really matter too much where your LDL sits.
I eat cinnamon.
That's supposed to be supposed to help your insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta get the right cinnamon though. It's called Ceylon cinnamon, not the regular stuff.
Yeah, there's 3 different types of cinnamon. There's 3 different types. There's Ceylon, Saigon, and
Cassia.
Yeah, and then like one of them, if you have too much of it, they say it's bad for your
Cassia is for sure. It's like a liver toxin.
Liver or kidney or something. It's like but cinnamon's good for you.
Oh yeah, I used to take Ceylon cinnamon like every day religiously. That was my first religion.
Oh yeah, even my first religion. Dude, these are amazing. I actually do think people should get these.
Yeah, they are super good.
This is a good plug.
Pork cracklings.
Pretty much anything Epic makes is pretty epic.
Dude,
I
these
also
are really
have
good.
sea salt and pepper pork rinds.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
What flavor is that one?
Crunching up a storm.
That's
This
maple
is
bacon.
Maple bacon.
Maple bacon.
There's sugar in this one?
What?
A little bit. A little sugar.
Tiny bit.
Not too bad.
Not enough to worry me.
1 total carb per serving.
Okay, thank you. Nah, not as good. Still good though. Peppery. I'm also getting a hint of white pepper.
I just realized I'm kind of an evangelist. I mean, I started doing keto over like a year ago.
Yeah.
He's on it.
I'm partially on it.
My other friend's on it. And Tyler's now on it.
Yeah. Although I did technically start before I knew you were all about it.
We started looking into it.
Like I was experimenting with my diet and moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. You're taking all your good stuff. You're spread all the good stuff today.
Spread the good word. Spread the good word.
Good word.
Yeah. Good job, though, man. No, I'm just joking though with you on the ketosis stuff.
Oh no, we got to be able to joke about it and laugh about it because it is taking over in certain aspects, and it's going to be really interesting to see if we actually make this cultural shift back to like a more natural. I'm sure it's fine. A more natural metabolism.
Yeah.
Like I mean, this high carbohydrate diet, especially like the refined carbs, has only been like an experiment for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
You know?
And also the types of fats that we're eating these days are not the types of fats that your body
knows how to handle.
Yeah, exactly. They're all extremely volatile and
carcinogenic, actually.
Yeah. This is a part of my entire process of trying to get vegetarians and vegans and the health conscious people together with the libertarians is that a lot of our tax dollars are subsidizing these industries, falsely propagating them into places that they're not even supposed to be naturally or would never be naturally.
Well, I mean,
we wouldn't eat this much beef product if it wasn't subsidized in the United States. Most Americans would not because they could not afford it.
Well,
the fast food restaurants could not afford to even it would be mostly soy.
I think that would be true. Ugh, it's a horrible thought.
I'm going to expatriate if we move to soy in this country.
For a time, beef prices would go through the roof. Yeah. But then they would eventually find their equilibrium with the supply and demand. Yeah. And even if the demand were really high, there would be solutions that the market would be able to figure out to be able to meet that demand.
I agree. I'm just saying, but subsidizing it though is falsely propagating it. It's
absolutely.
It's putting it at a level that it's not supposed to be.
More of the problem is not on subsidization of beef. I mean, it's still a problem, but it's more on the subsidization of corn
and wheat and soy.
Wheat. Oh, and soy. Right.
Well, because they have so much now, they have to basically, either waste part of it or remarket that waste as something that's a health food. And, obviously they're feeding it to all the cows and everything. I mean, if it wasn't subsidized the way that it is, then we wouldn't have all the extra.
Even if you look at the food pyramid, nobody needs 10 more, I think, what is it?
10 slices
10
of bread a day.
Not helpings.
Yeah.
What is the term?
Servings.
Nobody needs 10 servings of grains a day.
Yeah.
That's
they stopped doing that
absurd.
one, yeah.
But the
Thankfully.
whole reason why that was put in there was like, the government who created the food pyramid is also like, well, how do we
ton
get
of this stuff.
How do we get people to eat all this grains that we just subsidize the fuck out of?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
And we couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
We had to start feeding it to cows and cattle and all
Do
that
you guys
stuff
know
too.
about the Agricultural Adjustment Act?
Haven't heard of that.
So that was when FDR, I think it's in 1935, he created the Agricultural Adjustment Act. What happened, the United States used to be an agricultural, an agrarian type of country. Agrarian, that's the word, right? Where there's a lot of, they were farming and they had livestock, things like that, right? The prices, in order to falsely inflate them, FDR had the Agricultural Adjustment Act passed, where he had agents go to the people's houses and to the farms and say, "Look, we will start subsidizing, we'll start paying you, but we need you to pay to grow less than what you have now, and we need you to kill a percentage of your animals, the livestock, so a percentage of the cows, the chickens, the pigs, and then we're going to watch you bury those. You're not allowed to use those. You're not allowed to use it. You have to kill them. You have to slaughter them and bury them in the ground, and we have to burn a certain amount of your crops and destroy a certain amount of your crops in order to falsely inflate the prices of agriculture and livestock in the United States." And that's repeated since that time period, since FDR. Of not them killing the animals, so to speak, but it is an incentive to grow only a certain amount and raise only a certain amount. And then this funnels into only bigger companies, bigger organizations can afford those limits, and then they have extra rules because they own multiple properties, and then they can say, we grow this much here, we grow this much there, we grow this much here, we grow this much there.
Like Tyson, ConAgra, and stuff like that.
And Monsanto and whatever else who's tied into that industry. So the cronyism that's there is just so insane. But in the pricing and the subsidies that we have today, and we grow rice in the state of California. We're subsidizing rice in the state of California, and it's we've subsidized. You can look this up. We've given over I think it's over $12 million to the rice industry in the state of California to grow rice, which you have to have in puddles of water, constant puddles of water, which California's always in a drought. And they say it's for jobs, and it's because only this type of soil and
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
That's crazy.
And almonds in California?
I know, right? They require way more water than any other, fruit.
And we're subsidizing this in the state of California.
Yeah,
because they're jobs and the weather or something else. I don't know.
It almost seems like it was planned that way.
Right.
I don't like to go there, but
no, that's okay. Yeah,
there's too many things that all, if you had like that board with the red yarn all over.
That's on Always Sunny in
Philadelphia,
and that what's that movie? That's
Conspiracy Theory.
Movie, and gravy. He's talking about gravy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, you guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a good place
really great
to call it. How long have we
We
been
ate our
going?
snacks.
It's like an hour and a half.
You'll probably edit a good amount out.
No, none of it.
Even that's a long one.
What?
That's a long podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good one. Jeez, that's awesome.
We're just like, whatever.
Heck yeah.
That's the whole idea. Just
Wow.
rambling away. We rambled the...
Not too much of an agenda.
Yeah.
Just to have fun. And
it's totally fun.
Yeah.
Guy time.
It was good, man.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Please come back.
Thank you. I will.
We need your microphone.
Thank you so much. I love the licks. I love the kisses. Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Well,
that was a great one.
Good episode.
Yeah.
And well, check out Josh. He's going to be producing his own podcast here very soon.
And I'll be doing
Do you have a name for it yet?
Yep.
No, I do not have a name for it yet. I'm working on it, but I do want to. I'm gonna have
So you'll be seeing more of him
Good.
and producing lots of content together.
Yes.
It's going to be a wonderful match made in heaven.
Yep.
Yes.
You're going to be our consultant when we set this episode, our podcast studio.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, for sure, dude.
Okay. Nice.
All right. Well, see you guys next time.
Yep. Take care.
Stay in ketosis.
Yep.
All right. Let's.
That's good.